Hello, everybody. It is me, Pacific, coming to you from a Sunday afternoon in good old rainy Lakewood, Colorado. Thunder and lightning and cool temperatures and heavy rains. Well, a viewer of mine in Cleveland, Ohio forwarded me a link to a video on YouTube that is most disturbing. Black Boy, the title of the video is called I'm a Coke Boy. That's the song. An elementary school age kid doing it in hip-hop trash fashion, complete with trashy ghetto background, singing I'm a Coke Boy, and I watched all of 60 seconds of it and I shut it off. I'm not going to include the link in here because I don't want to promote this. You can find it yourself. I'm a Coke Boy. How far does America need to go down the sewer before people are going to wake up to this stuff? There were 220,000 views on this thing already. 700 of them are favorable. 700 think this is cool beans. Pacific gets what, 300 views on his video? Like I said, people prefer trash to substance. Bear with me here. The man of the house birthday is going to be celebrated today, and I went to buy him a gift, and I got this book. I just saw it, God Bless America by Todd Starnes, real stories from the front lines of the attack on traditional values. Let me read to you the back of this fine book. I bought it for him, and as I was looking it over, I'm like, dang, I need to buy this and read it myself. Pay attention, people of faith. Dark clouds are gathering. The winds of intolerance are blowing. There's a great storm approaching. We are facing uncertain times. America's values are under assault. Religious liberty has been undermined. We live in a day when right is now wrong and wrong is now right. The vicious left-wing attacks against the recent traditional marriage stance of Chick-fil-A and Duck Dynasty should serve as a wake-up call to people of faith. It's not about ducks or chicken sandwiches. It's about religious liberty. It's about free speech. It's about the future of our nations. As a national reporter covering the culture war, Todd Starnes is on the front lines of these attacks against traditional values. In God Bless America, minus the B for bless, you can see it in there. He uses both recent news stories and compelling interviews with today's top conservative leaders to bring to light what is happening across our country. In his award-winning satire meets serious writing style, he strikes an important blow in today's culture wars. This video is not going to be for the unbeliever. It will only be for the unbeliever in the sense that, okay, maybe you don't consider yourself a Christian, but you like good values. This video is not going to appeal to the ghetto trash people. It's not going to appeal to the people that love to see this kind of garbage in the video, I'm a Coke Boy. And I don't think he's talking about Coca-Cola, folks. I'm sure somebody will try to tell me that that's what that's about. I don't think so. I'm 48 years old. I've been around the block and I've sowed my own oats in life. But I do not support drugs. I do not support alcohol. I do not support gambling. I do not support 420. And I definitely don't support the eroding and deterioration of values all across this land. Pacific has admitted to his viewers about his own struggles sensually and some of the things that I've done in my colorful past. I've admitted my failures, and I take responsibility, that I made choices for my actions. But I've also talked about, in the culture that I've grown up in, how we have been eroded, how Christians have been eroded. Let me give you examples. Every Monday through Friday, I drive a school bus in Denver, Colorado. I have noticed in the last so much time that I've been here, been driving for just shy of 2 years in Denver since I've returned in 2012, I'm noticing the drivers are getting worse and worse and worse, doing things that take absolute guts to do, doing things that just are brazen with all kinds of witnesses, people with phones with cameras. I am still toying with the idea of installing a dash cam on my truck, but even that doesn't matter. We have cameras on buses, and we have kids flipping off the cameras and yelling the F word at them. They don't care that they're being watched. We live in an age of no fear. We live in an age where kids are ruling over authority, where kids are in authority's face, where women don't act like ladies, and telling us men off with the best of them. I'm noticing the driving is getting worse and worse, even to the point of going to work and coming home from work in my personal pickup. I'm thinking, man, I don't have a big enough truck to feel safe out here. The new trucks are getting bigger and taller and poofier fenders, and the way they're driving those things, they hit me, my truck is done. The only thing I'd feel safe in is a 6x6 military vehicle, and who can afford to drive that? As I stated to my viewers, I have been making pleas out to friends of mine saying if there's anything you know of how I can get a visa out of America, the great escape, leaving the USA behind, because I believe this country is going to sink in a way that people can't even begin to imagine. People worry about communist China and they worry about all this other stuff, but I have more clouds of fear hanging over me living in this country than I do and did when I lived in Hong Kong, which is now ruled by the Chinese. The reason I'm afraid here is because the next bit of story that I'm going to tell you starts Sunday morning, every Sunday morning in a church that prides itself on being biblical literalists, being orthodox in biblical interpretation, and I agree they are. In a church with most of the people my age and older, and what I see every Sunday morning is very, very disturbing. When I can sit in a church and most people, same people Sunday after Sunday, will not even say hello. Woman sitting behind me saying amen, amen to everything the preacher's saying, even commenting, agreeing. When it comes time for the greeting, Miss Spiritual doesn't even acknowledge me. When I see such coldness and lifelessness and immature, and I use the word immature Christian women so comfortable in their little white world, nice homes, nice cars, filling their houses with useless crippy crap and stuff they spend too much money on, and we have leadership in a small church going to Australia and going here and there and everywhere, and I'm going, for what? And I don't see love, I don't see warmth, I don't see passion. And yes, I'm going to bring up Indokita, who's still writing me, and who I'm still writing, has seen my videos with all my faults, all my sins, and loves and adores me, and doesn't want anybody else, even in a university where she's getting an education, even in her church. In the church I'm in, I wouldn't dare admit my faults. Not to them. Not because I have anything to hide. I don't care if they knew. But why would I? I was thinking today, back in the 80s and the 90s, it was easy for Pacific to get dates with non-Christian women. Non-Christian women who may not have agreed with my views, but were not hostile to me, but were nice to me. Christian women then were still somewhat stuck up, but I dated a few of them, and they were, okay. I find it ironic and interesting that now don't even consider getting a date from a Christian woman, Pacific, in the U.S. That's out. If you want to be interviewed and interrogated and be asked to rise up to some woman's silly little standard of what she thinks is a godly man, okay, go ahead and submit yourself to that. If you like sadistic pain, you're going to lose every time. Contrast that with a 23-year-old woman who has more maturity than most 40, 50-year-old women who can't bother to say hello in church, but can yell amen to everything the pastor's saying. I can't believe this stuff. I talk negative, I know that. But this is reality, folks. Pacific cannot drive home ever on one day without a traffic incident. People just doing absolute crazy things from a straight lane with heavy traffic coming my way, making an illegal left turn in front of me when I'm in a left turn lane, and not caring when I honk the horn. Women speeding up when I put on my turn signal because my lane ends and I have to get over, and they speed up and then stop and block me as traffic stops, and you just look at them and go, are you freaking serious? And they reach over and turn up the radio and sip their coffee and pretend they don't notice. What does this have to do with I'm a Coke boy? While evangelicals are condemning masturbation at church and talking about men's lust, but don't bother to say hello to anybody outside their little comfort zone, and they believe in the Bible's verse that says preach the gospel to the whole world and support missions with their tiny donations, but they themselves don't want to preach the gospel to the whole world, and they only want to be with the little lily white comfort club. And I sit here and go, wow. I thought of an ethnic friend that I have and thought I would never invite her to my church. She would not feel comfortable there at all. No way, siree, Bob. What does this have to do with I'm a Coke boy? Because I'm laying for you a general prevailing atmosphere that is going all rampant through this country right now. You go to the evangelical church today, you don't feel the love, you don't feel the warmth, and I sure don't see a passion for Jesus. I see people come get their Sunday weekly dose of Bible knowledge and run right back out the door. I see white Christians as being caught up in materialism and consumeristic culture more than they are in Jesus Christ. I see that even though I have committed sins and this and that, I find churches very, very unaccepting of anybody who's divorced. Even if that church had no knowledge of anything about that person and doesn't know anything. I look at something like this, a kid singing hard and calloused, I'm a Coke boy. And this is what our nation glorifies. Indokita wrote me, I wish I could travel the world with you, just you and me, and do videos of them and post them on YouTube. And so what if even the trolls? I'm going to say something about the trolls on YouTube, and I'm going to be very pointed. Because I got a disturbing comment that I am going to share with you because he was blocked. This person said, I F-U-C-K all gay men, and I believe in aborting babies or aborting fetuses and playing soccer with them on a field. Hardened, satanically infested idiots find that stuff funny. They laugh at that. I'm going to tell you something about trolls, and this is my personal observation. Most trolls are overweight people that don't have a job. Most trolls are on meds. Most trolls have a criminal record. And most trolls are malcontents that were picked on, abused, or whatever in school, and they get on the internet to feel big because none of them has a picture of themselves. You notice that? That goes for the women that make their smart mouth remarks. No picture. And a lot of them block their own sites, so you can't even leave anything on their discussion page. I want to know why. why a non-Christian woman in the 80s and the 90s was nicer to me than any of American Christian women are today. They are bitchy. They are stuck up. They think that they're entitled to the best, and even hide behind a religious veneer, but deny the power of God and say things like, I want a godly man. God wants his best for me. Yeah, but are you giving your best to God, and are you giving your best to that so-called godly man you're waiting forever for? No way. Remember I told you I hate this? There's a group of kids from around the country, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, all cookie cutters. They're serving at the camp connected with our church for the summer. I was nice. I greeted them. They all got the short hair. They all got the suits. Most of them. Dressed up nice. You know, the good old religious boy club. And I said hi to the one guy. I said, how you doing? I'm doing well. How are you? Wow. What are we, 19 years old and we've already got the fake down to a science? I hate that response. I hate it. Not because somebody is doing well, but because I've heard that so much, it's like, that's fake. None of the girls even looked at me and said hi. I thought, yeah, myopic little girls, living for Jesus, waiting for their godly man. None of them were particularly flattering looking. And this is what I see day in and day out. The same boring group of predictable, homogenized American Christian people. The same boring group of homogenized, culturally downsliding, sewage-oriented, fast-track country going down the pits as fast as it possibly can. What does this have to do with I'm a Coke boy? Because that's the other end of the spectrum. Have you not noticed that ghetto culture has bulldozed right into the middle and heart of American mainstream? We are subjected to hip-hop. We are subjected to hip-hop in the commercials. The whole ghetto mentality's been pushed and shoved on us through and through. It is used for advertising. Car commercials show people driving aggressively, speeding, bouncing through stuff, splashing pedestrians with puddles, and just crazy stuff. Our consumeristic driven culture is pushing for people to get deeply in debt to buy more and more stuff. I thought of something about even the people in my own church. Even among American Christians, materialism has made people become socially retarded. The devil has bought the American people through materialism. There's a woman at work. Doesn't say hi to anybody. She's very ugly. She's slender, but she's ugly. Her hair's done up like a poodle. She thinks she's better than everybody. She drives the bus like the rest of us. And she sits there with her tablet. She will not speak to anybody unless they say hi to her first. I see people obsessed with the latest telephone. iPhones, tablets. The cost of communications has hugely quantified since I was a child. And yet, what is it we're communicating? What are we really communicating? As a society, we are less together now than we were in the 1950s without any of the telephones, without any of the laptops, without any Comcast. Anybody remember the homes up until the 1940s? They had front porches. After the 1940s and into the 50s and definitely 60s and 70s, guess what happened? The front porch went whoosh. Then with the advent of the remote control door, people could leave their office, push remote, door goes up, car goes in, shut door, seamless. I don't have to deal with anybody. That same person drives like an idiot through the city, disregarding everybody else's right to safety and not giving a rat butt tootie about anybody else. It's all about me. Denver, Colorado legalizes pot. And people are celebrating this. The gays are screaming for national recognition of the right to marry, suing companies that will not honor them. In Canada, a preacher was arrested and tried for hate crime for simply stating in his own congregation that homosexuality is a sin. Political correctness is a weapon. It is a form of discrimination against people that are conservative and God-fearing. Meaning, we're not allowed to say anything that offends them, but they can say whatever they want to offend us. Use terms like the religious right, the right-wing conservatives, radicals. It's funny, those same people won't comment on radical Islam or militant feminists or militant gays. They won't say anything like that, will they now? I'm going to tell you something, folks, and some of you are going to think, Pacific, I think you got problems and you need meds. No, I don't. I'm not on meds, and I don't intend to go on them. I have felt in the last few months the darkening of storm clouds on the horizon myself. I've started talking to some of my friends saying, we're in for trouble. It's coming. It's coming compliments of our U.S. government, our U.S. media. It's coming through our entertainment. It's coming through the rock star divas and the people that are getting all the views and all the popularity. Did anybody see the way the old man of the owner of California Chrome with the horse race when he didn't get the Triple Crown yesterday? Did you hear that? Did you see that? He started acting anything less than classy. Now people will comment to me, oh, come on, that's normal. I understand that. But the obsession with sports, the obsession with what people define as stars is utterly revolting. Even most Christian women in search of a godly man know little or nothing about Scripture and doctrine and living any of it out. American women have adopted the cultural philosophy of Americanism and feminism, and they think that that's equated with Jesus Christ. No, it isn't. When non-Christian women in the 80s and 90s were nicer to me than Christian women are today, that is a reality check. We've really drifted downstream. When a 23-year-old educated young lady who is not misguided at all falls for me, knows all my faults, knows all my dark sides and everything else, and says, there aren't guys like you. She's not some dumb ding-dong. She's a Christian woman who's attracted to me because of my faith, my stance on issues, my heart. Yes, she likes my looks. But what got her attracted to me was my videos, being sensitive to cultures. Filipina, the domestic helper in Hong Kong. Does any of my viewers get any kind of a feel of the struggle I'm currently having? Yes, I said in my other video, farewell to her and I need to live in this world, and yet the times we're living in are very dark. And I'm hanging on to her and the emails we're getting back and forth. Because something else is happening to me. Better to have a shred of her than to have nothing at all. There's nobody I can call up in Denver, Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, Arvada, Littleton, Inglewood, Aurora and say, hey, you want to get together today? No one. Chances of me finding somebody anywhere close to what I have in just email form with Indo are about that big. I'm a reasonable guy. I know that the culture I live in is not going to produce the caliber of a woman that I see in Oquito, so I'm merciful. When American women refuse to hold the mirror of truth up to their face, I don't want to be around those kind of people. Do not. I don't care how good looking they are. Because I'm going to tell you something I've learned. If a woman's really interested in me, there won't be any game playing and there won't be any interrogation. They'll be interested in me, irregardless. How do I know this? I have all the proof. Sitting in Melbourne. If I were in a courtroom, I'd say, Your Honor, I have the evidence, but the evidence is in Melbourne. You'll have to subpoena her to the court. My point is, Pacific found somebody that is different. Very, very, very different than anything I've seen over here. It's gotten to the point now where I don't even feel like joyriding around in my pickup truck. I like to take a cruise. Not here. It's getting more and more unsafe. Why risk getting into an accident where I have minimum liability on my truck for some idiot to hit my truck who has no insurance and leave the scene, and I'm got to go shell out $5,000 or $6,000 for a pickup? Pacific is sitting here thinking, there's got to be ways I can increase my savings. And when I get to a certain amount, I'm just pulling the plug and out the door. I can get residency in Thailand for $25,000. I can do that right now. But I need a job. If you have $25,000 in the bank, I was told, you can prove that, and you fill out whatever paperwork, I can get residency in Thailand. I'm starting to seriously say I've got to find a way, even if it means scraping it all together, to get out of here. Because more than anything else, more than my search for a woman, I'm concerned. I'm concerned persecution is going to come on the true Christians. Not these ding-dongs that are just way all over the top, immature, and still walking around in spiritual diapers. But it's going to take something big to shake up the church in America, and it's just not happening. It's just not happening. The purchase of flat screen TVs and entertainment-oriented stuff just continues to soar. The views for stupid, garbage videos, my thoughts in the shower, I'm a Coke boy, Britney Spears, who's the other one? Drunk in Love, Beyonce. It's disgusting. People love that stuff. And I will be honest with you, viewers, I'm feeling more and more like I'm beating the air with my fists. Don't take me wrong, viewers, I appreciate your loyalty. But more and more I'm starting to think, just how much good am I really doing? When the majority of people are thumbs-upping that stuff, maybe it's time for me to shut down, turn it off, and go home across the ocean. Why do I say that? Because I'm tired of living in Denver, Colorado, and watching nothing but people who've got nice vehicles, who've got the good life here compared to the rest of the world, act like spoiled, rotten, nasty, self-centered brats. People laugh when I say that. Boy, you're sure negative. No, I'm realistic. Ride with me for a day. The general mentality is, who cares about the speed limit? Who cares about turning? Who cares about anything? I don't want to be in that. We are destroying ourselves from within. Indokita wrote to me today about the trolls and said it's interesting that Google and YouTube really doesn't shut down the trolls. You know, that's the truth. That is the truth. There are some things that I say that could get me shut down. Believe it or not. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. But the trolls just proliferate and breed like rabbits. And I start to ask myself, just how many good people are really watching YouTube? How many quality people that are wanting to go up to the next level are watching YouTube? And I gotta be honest, I don't know. I'm not implying that my channel isn't attracting good people, but I am going to say something bold. Tonight I got to start going through and cleaning up again. We got somebody on there that's saying that everything in the media is all acting. Elliot Rogers is acting. On and on it goes. Promoting anti-Semitism, saying that just outrageous, ridiculous stuff. Where I have a viewer who's listening to a Muslim friend who's telling her that we're responsible, the U.S., for the bloodbath in the Ukraine. No, we're not. I talked to somebody who knows history quite well, and John McCain, and that is rubbish. I have boldly stated what the U.S. is responsible for, and they're responsible for promoting a culture of pollutive trash through Hollywood, through materialism, through rebellious women dyeing their hair, tattooing themselves, piercing themselves, and flaunting in your face loudly, just like Aussie women, being as loud and obnoxious as they can and letting the whole world know they're entitled and free and liberated. And you're going, no, baby, you're in chains. Believe you me. I am going to be honest. I spend more time bagging trolls off of my site than I do reading good comments anymore, and I'm starting to realize it's getting time to shut down. It's getting time to pull the plug on this, and it's getting time to find a way to seriously look at getting out of here. Somehow, some way, even if I have to scrape an existence on the other side together. I am looking, and I am looking for that diligently. Pacific is looking for a lifeboat to leave because I don't want to go down with this ship. People are telling me that Hillary Clinton's going to definitely run. We still have a year and a half for Obama to be a wrecking ball in the White House. Hillary Clinton is another very bad leader. Number one, Pacific is going to be very honest with what he says. No woman should lead a country. None. A man should lead. The Bible says, I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over men. Sorry, I believe that includes president. Hillary Clinton just needs to go away. I'm tired of people getting into the White House that have nothing but agendas to destroy. As Obama said, change. Well, he's definitely changed things, hasn't he? Let me make something very crystal clear. Obama doesn't like the white man. So, we're in trouble. It's, as much as I don't like a lot of things about my own white culture, I'm also not feeling comfortable with the rising hatred towards my color. I've heard enough about the blacks and the way they were treated in the slave issues and were blamed for all of the woes to the current time. I'm tired of it. Most of that is baloney. I'm tired of Chica power rising up and laughing at us gringos. I'm tired of our country being open to illegal immigration and letting foreign people come in the droves that are just wiping us out. Taking over, speaking their own language, and doing whatever the heck they please. This is not what America was built on. The early immigrants that immigrated from Russia and Europe and the Baltic states, and man, it was so different. They came in and they maintained their own original identity and kept their language, but they learned English. And they got jobs and they worked hard. It's not like that anymore. Now we got a nation of pot-smoking, lazy banditos who want to live here and do whatever they want and want the government to give them everything. Come on and take a free ride. The entitled spoiled brat mentality of today's kids is appalling and disgusting. The lack of manners in today's youth is unacceptable. The baby boomers on down is where the ship's deck snapped in half as it was sinking. The baby boomers on down, a picture that comes to my mind is the stern section of the Titanic sitting on the ocean floor. That's the baby boomers' contribution to society, with hull plating splayed out, decks collapsed, and one engine standing there with everything all rusted and collapsed around it. Way to go, baby boomers. At least the World War II vets and the people back behind them were real men. Women stayed at home, and oh my gosh, it's so different now. We have a nation of spoiled brats with technological gadgets in hand that can sit around and troll on the internet, play violent video games, and produce absolutely nothing. Even John F. Kennedy, who was a Democrat, had more fortitude than most of today's conservatives. Oh yes, he screwed around with Marilyn Monroe and was a womanizer. He had his problems. But he said something. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. We don't see that today, do we? How many politicians will serve in the United States with no pay? How many? Go back to George Washington's day when people were senators and congressional leaders. No salary. I want to mention something. I believe it was Colonel made a good comment, and I'm not against you, Colonel. You make some good food for thought. Thank you. You said Stanley's is modest compared to what these other people are taking, and I came back with, yeah, but. Look at Stanley's In Touch magazine and all the places he's globe-trotting to, and that's not ministry, by the way. That's his personal vacations, junkets, whatever. Pictures in Iceland, pictures all around the globe. $200,000 a year to be a preacher at an Atlanta church. I don't care what any Christian says. I don't care if the godliest of the godliest men in the world come up to me and say, you're wrong, Pacific. I'll say, no, you're wrong. No Christian has a right, in my opinion, in the name of God, as a servant of God, to pull in $200,000 a year. That is ridiculous. We have pastors in the Philippines, Filipino pastors, that are squeaking by just to hold a congregation together in the Philippines. And we're paying some big shot $200,000. Joyce Meyer's Ministries pulled in $92 million in 2006. Are you serious? Are you really serious, or was it 2005? Benny Hinn, we don't even know there, but he spent $10,000 a night in some European hotel. Kenneth Copeland, a billionaire, private jets. I will say something I heard in church today that I agreed with. The pastor said God will not share his glory with anyone. And he said that if you want to know who the true preachers are, look at who they're drawing attention to. And he said, I'm not going to mention any names, but there's TV preachers and radio preachers that are drawing attention and glory to themselves, but not to God, claiming they can heal, which they're full of it. I'm going to say it unequivocally. People that are looking for television to be their church need to turn the boob tube off and go to church and get out of there. Get off the television. It is dominated by people that are living way above and beyond the American dream. What does this have to do with I'm a Coke boy? It has everything to do with it. The church is not doing a thing to confront the culture in America today. They're not doing one thing. They are assimilating into it. They've embraced it in the form of Christian rock music and PowerPoint presentations and skits and plays and all the media-oriented stuff, and we're not confronting the culture with hard, in-your-face truth. Even Pacific has been watered down by living in this culture. I have compromised, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but I'll throw out a few. Not going to be exhaustive. When you don't get the love and the support and the encouragement you need from a local body of believers, because we're human, we're going to go look for it where we can find it. If you don't believe me on that, do a study of gangs and why people join them. Kids rejected, neglected, abused by parents, scared to death, to fend for themselves. Find a group of gangs that say, we'll care about you if you join us. Okay, I'm in. People join cults, the Mormon Church, Jehovah's Witnesses, because they feel they really cared about me. Not really. That's all smokescreen by the devil, but yes, it looks like that. It has been said that the Mormon Church does a better job taking care of its own people than the evangelical church in America does its own Christians. That's messed up. But there's truth to that. Another tool that the devil uses, of course. We cannot ask God to bless America. This has now become God bless America, land I used to love. It's a sewer and a urinal and a toilet with a chrome handle to flush. From the mountains to the ocean, all we have is slime. God bless America. Oh God, save our souls. I mean, seriously. Is this what we've become? Yeah. Pacific is tired of it. Is anybody my age saying this? Is anybody younger than me saying this? Yeah, there are some. There's some young 20-something-year-olds from around the U.S. writing me, saying they're tired of what they're seeing going on. There's 20-something-year-olds across the ocean telling me they're tired of what's going on over here. I'm tired of what's going on inside of me, in my own fallen humanity and the things that I've done and been less than stellar about. I see the effects of the culture on Pacific. I'm going to tell my viewers something very, very pointed. I'm getting tired of the overt, dangerous rudeness of other people. And I have yelled some profanity, and I have said some things that are not Christ-like. And I said, Lord, what do you want me to do so that I could change this stuff within me? Because I don't like this stuff. It's getting bad. What does a guy like me do? People say, oh, quit your job. And go where? And do what? Work in a restaurant for $5 an hour? No thanks. We're in for troubled times, folks. Read 2 Timothy chapter 3 in the Bible. That is a description of America right now. I wrote in the margin of my Bible, America 1990s. Oh my word, Becky. Look at the size of the problem now. We need to be careful. The culture is shifting so fast. Culture is quicksand, folks, not foundation. Culture is quicksand, not foundation. The Word of God is foundation, and when we stand on culture, we're standing on quicksand, and we will sink up to our armpits, our neck, and suffocate. And that is exactly what we see happening. I'm a Coke boy. Really? The producers, the marketers, the promoters of a little kid singing and behaving and promoting this ought to be ashamed. But they're not. There is no shame. There's no shame at all. Little kids aren't even safe from this anymore. Little kids are being exposed to stuff through the internet and through an adult world today that is beyond palatable. I managed to work in all levels in this video, haven't I? I forgot to throw one more boot in against SUVs. We have people that have lost their jobs and lost everything. We have people struggling in this country, and people are obsessed with $50,000, $60,000 trucks, pickup trucks, diesel pickup trucks, SUVs. And you go, is that really a need? When consumerism in America has been so effective through corporate blitzkrieg advertising and getting American people to actually buy something that is so dumbed down and so ridiculous looking as today's cars and SUVs, and feel that they have to have this and get deeply in debt or lease these vehicles. I wonder how long God is going to let America be drunk like they are right now before he grabs the end of that rug and goes whoosh, and all these people lose their SUVs and their $500,000 houses and can't afford to feed their dog, and dogs are running in the street like the Philippines. I'm wondering how long it's going to be before we become a banana republic, because I'm going to say something. If you people believe that America is invincible and will always be on top, and if you think this won't happen to America, you better watch. People truly thought the Titanic was unsinkable. They thought those watertight bulkheads would do it. The only problem is the bulkheads didn't go all the way up through several floors. For those of you that don't understand the lesson from the Titanic, let me break it down for you. It wasn't the iceberg that sank the Titanic. Yes, it opened the hull plating. What sank the Titanic is they did not engineer it properly with bulkheads going all the way up. You know, when you look at the ship, there's the bow, and when you can see the top of the bow, the uppermost deck, 60 feet above the waterline, those bulkheads should have gone all the way up to that point. They didn't. So when the first couple of compartments filled with water, it slopped over this bulkhead into this one and into the next one, thus weighting down the ship, and it sank. The same thing's happening to America right now. Culture is sinking us. The love of hedonism. Even I have had dark thoughts in me that are not in line with God's word. Why? Because we've been sitting in a cauldron of stuff that has been pushing the envelope, pushing the envelope, pushing the envelope. One of my biggest proofs that American society is in decline is watching a culture of, yes, I'm going to say this, ladies first, American females in absolute denial of the reality of who and what they really are and how they are viewed by God. Most American Christian women do not see their sinfulness, their attitudes, their pride, their arrogance, and that they've embraced more culturalism rather than biblicalism. I'm telling you folks, we're headed for trouble. When American men equate macho, I saw a Dodge Dually doofus today, stacks out of the back of the bed, making a bunch of noise. I looked over and he had a pair of deer antlers mounted behind the back window, just in the bed of the truck. And then right behind the back of the truck, hanging off to the right side, was this huge pair of swinging testicles. And I just thought, yep, redneck Dodge doofus, complete with deer antlers. I thought, are you serious? And a pair of balls. And I thought, those must be compensating for the ones he doesn't have. Do you know what the picture of the American male is today in my mind? The most common picture of the American male I see? It's this. The guy with his hand over the top of the steering wheel, driving aggressive, cutting everybody off, and thinking he's tough, thinking he's macho, and when he beats somebody to red light, he feels an inner sense of completeness. That's not much of a man, cowboy. That little boy who never grew up, never got over his insecurities, and never learned what a real man is. That a real man does not get in debt, that he lives within his means. That a real man doesn't let feminism get off the ground. That a real man stands up to a woman and says no to American women. And I don't mean by saying I'm going to date for a woman who says no to my wife, you can't buy this, and I'm not going to listen to this. You know what? If you don't like it, leave the house and go away. I'll sign the divorce if you want me to. I'm not putting up with this. I'm the man, I'm the head. Men need to be men, and they're not being men. When men can't control themselves behind the wheel of a big Dodge Dually diesel pickup, that's not a man. That's a little boy who has no self-control. When we've got a phallic emblem hanging off the back of it, that just shows how foolish, utterly foolish, childish, and disgusting you really are. This is American society, man. Sewer culture. Toilet culture. And it's those people that are mocking people like me and people like you that have conservative, God-fearing values. When they're ripping on Duck Dynasty and when they sued a Colorado cake shop that said, we will sell you anything in the store, but we're not making a cake to support a gay marriage. And the gays got their panties and collective underwear in a bunch and sued them. Ridiculous. I wonder if the same court would uphold the law for me to walk in. I like to walk without my shirt on. If I go into a business that says no shirt, no service, say, no, you're discriminating. The law would uphold them. I'm going to say something. When we have a country that's equating somebody being against gay behavior because they believe it's a sin and a violation of their conscience to support that, when they're equating that with racism, ethnic racism, I just scratch my head and go, are you serious? Now we're equating immorality and a bunch of immoral, godless people getting boo-boos on their fingers because people won't accept their little stupid lifestyle and they get mad at us for that? Really? And we're going to stamp our feet and sue and scream, oh, you won't make me a cake. Why don't you make your own cake, boys? Why do you got to infringe on our rights? Why do you got to demand and push us to accept you when you refuse to accept it? Don't you dare say you're open-minded and tolerant, you liberal pieces of trash. Who am I calling liberal pieces of trash? Anybody that voted for Barack Obama and still maintains that he's a good leader. Anybody who gets behind Hillary Clinton, anybody who thinks it's okay to be gay, anybody who thinks it's okay to abort your babies, liberal pieces of trash. I'm tired of it. You have single-handedly ruined the country. But the evangelical church is also to blame. We didn't say anything about Darwinism for decades. And the church is always trying so hard to be accepted by the world. The little chihuahua. The church is the little chihuahua behind the big, giant German shepherd going, please accept me, please accept me. And the big German shepherd's going to go, get out of here. The church needs to stop looking for acceptance from the world and realize that it says in the Bible, wherein he has made us accepted in the beloved. The child of God is accepted by God. We don't need the world's acceptance and approval, and we don't need their thumbs up and thumbs down. We don't care. We want God's well done, thou good and faithful servant. And I admit, I probably won't hear that when I get to heaven. And most Christians I know in this country aren't going to hear it either. But we need to strive for that. Storm clouds are coming, folks. We can sit there and just say, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Yes, there is. Speak up. If we don't, we're going to lose the farm. Pacific is saying serious words. I'm a Coke boy. This is where our culture's headed. Can you Christians watch that and tell me you're proud of that? You proud of what that represents? Are you proud to say I'm an American when you see our culture promoting this garbage? When a little boy's innocence is so far gone that he's singing garbage like that? I got a problem with that. Little kids shouldn't be subject to this. Not at all. 220,000 views. People say you're just jealous. No, I'm not jealous. I'm outraged. 220,000 people watch that, but 220,000 people won't watch any of my videos. Well, you complain a lot. Yep, I do. You're right. My stuff to you is very negative because I don't show cleavage exposing women. I don't show illicit behavior. If I did all that, my views would be straight through the roof. If I were to take off my clothes and kiss another male, I bet you the views would go off the charts. Or if I was with Indokita and we both were topless dancing, I'll bet you that the views would be off the charts. And that's sad. If Pacific wanted to make money, he could go down to a club and strip and get paid big money. Did you know that? I could sell myself to the porn industry tomorrow and make big money. I've already been told by several people. I also know that because I'd advertised on a site on Craigslist they needed male models. I didn't realize it was conducted by a gay guy. And when I called and talked to him, he wanted pictures of me with the shirt off, and I sent them. And he said, "You are very attractive. You would be really hot at this, and I want to know, would you be willing to totally be naked and be comfortable with me touching you?" I'm like, "Whoa, hold it." Be tempting to earn a bunch of money just to get out of this country. But in good faith, Pacific says, I'd rather, if God wants me to escape and leave, he can provide the funds, but make it illegitimately on Vice? No. We're living in bad times. When the only thing most American women have to go on is their looks, and men because of their lust and their shallow brains, and thinking with the head between their legs instead of the one up here, giving them everything they want, which is continuing to empower them to hate the rest of us. The rock music culture in America is in the toilet bowl. Pharrell Williams, the song Happy that I so loved and endorsed. I've heard more and more disturbing things about how arrogant he is, how flaming liberal he is. He endorses Hillary Clinton to run. Ellen DeGenerate loves him. I'm going to say it again, folks. When the world produces something, everybody gets behind it. We need to wake up. There's an agenda coming soon to a theater nearest you. I didn't take it when I walked out of church because I forgot to. The pastor said there's a letter from a missionary over somewhere, a U.S. missionary. He's talking about all the Christians that are being killed in a bloodbath somewhere. Christians, not Catholics, Christians, just for believing in Jesus Christ, and said that we in America have no idea of the stuff. I'm going to say something very pointed. That is going to happen in America one day. The stage is being set right now. People are becoming more and more intolerant of those of us that hold to Jesus Christ as the way, the truth, the life. When will it happen? I don't know, but I'm already seeing open hostility. I'm watching myself, good worker, good employee. I'm watching 90% of the break room doesn't want to talk to me, or any of the others that are true Christians in there. Not because we walk around talking about Jesus, we don't. But it goes back to the verse in the Bible, Marvin, not that the world will hate you, it hated me first. The only women that are attracted to me are those that really love Jesus Christ. Not these pseudo-Christians in the U.S. claiming they're looking for a godly man. That's a bunch of crap. The only women that are attracted to me are those that hear my views and say, wow, this guy's made his mistakes, but he really does love and stand strong for God and his viewpoints. That's right. I don't want to date a Christian woman in the U.S. No, sirree, Bob. No. Pacific may go on a date, but seriously get involved with somebody in this country, the likelihood of that happening The only way I'd change on that is if somebody really shocked me. I found somebody who's quite perfect. It's just that there's some big barriers between us. And no, there's not going to be another video that says farewell. Done with that. She's still writing me. Apparently her mother softened somewhat. Said, if you're writing him, just be honest with me. She said, I love you, Mother. Her mother's realizing you can prohibition all you want, but you're not going to stop this one. Sad thing is, if I knew I only had 6 months to live, I'd go park it in Melbourne and see her. Because if I have to die, I'd like to be with her. And go out knowing that she was there. With me. I mean that. This isn't drama, I mean that. She's a wonderful lady. She truly is beyond anything I've ever imagined. I live in a thankless, godless culture over here. I never thought I would say in 48 years I want to escape the United States of America. I never thought in 48 years I'd say, my gosh, I'm feeling it's more dangerous here than some of the other places out there. It is. I see it in the correspondence I have with Indokita. I see how corrupt I am when I see the contrast between me and somebody who's actually godly and doesn't walk around saying, I'm looking for a godly man. Wow. Truth is showing up in the strangest places for me. Americans claim to know the truth, but they do a lot of this, but no modeling. Here's a woman who doesn't believe she amounts to anything, and I'm seeing more strength, stamina, godliness in her than I've seen in any woman to date in this country. To date. 48 collective years, my friend. I'm a coke boy. People are going to laugh at me because I'm anti-drugs. People are going to mock me for my views. People laugh at my looks all the time. That's all the trolls can do. They don't enter the debate forum with any intelligence. The atheists, the evolutionists don't enter the debate forum with any intelligence. And I refuse to go round and round like a toilet bowl floaty with them. It's just a waste of time. They're not interested in truth. They don't love God. They don't want God. So they're always going to argue from their spiritual darkness. And it's a little tornado that spins around and around. And if you allow yourself to get sucked in it, they'll laugh and think they got one-upsmanship on you. Don't waste your time. The fool said in his heart, there is no God. Let him stand up and prove to God that he doesn't exist when he crosses the threshold of death. That'll be very entertaining. If only I could be a fly on the wall. God, you don't exist. Yeah, I know, I don't exist. Then what are you hearing? Hello? And guess what? You're not going to be here with me. You're going to be in the greased pole route, the lake of fire. Okay. People get mad when I say that. But if you heard what the atheists have said about us, if you heard what the gays are saying about us, if you heard what the feminists and the liberals and the abortionists are saying about us, they're being full of hate and meanness and intolerance, but that's political correct? Really? Shoot, we need to turn this country on its head, folks. Forget the Tea Party, forget the Republicans. We Christians need to stand up and say, thus saith the Lord. This is wrong. If we don't raise up a righteous standard, if we don't stand on the standard of foundation, we have nothing. I think I've said enough. This is Pacific signing off. Bye-bye.